Namaskar, everyone. Namaskar, Guruji. Welcome back to our afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. But welcome back to our sacred conversation. So this afternoon, we have quite an exciting discussion to have based on the excitement of this morning, which I hope you all were able to carry that awareness that we developed together in the meditation. I hope you were able to carry it into your break, into your lunch or your dinner, and I'm excited to hear what that practice would have looked like for you. So with that, we have, Guru, would you like to add to that for what we're going to discuss this afternoon? Yes, so for this afternoon, we are going to be looking at how conscious are we of this play with the manas, senses, elements, and how do we grow that awareness, thinking about our meditation practice as well. And then what excites us about relating to sustainable communities from that lens of looking at all of us, how conscious we are of the all of us as we move through navigating and expressing through the senses and connecting with the elements. What excites us about doing that and applying that to the idea of environment and sustainability?
Okay, so I will add to that before we do breakout groups. Mm-hmm. But first, I would like to invite David Hunt, the husband of Ioana Raluca Hunt from England, to make a short presentation on Vrindavan, as David has been to Vrindavan, and that is his skill set area. I think it's on the financial side of a non-profits. But let David speak for himself. David, welcome. And you'll have to tell a little bit more about your credentials and what you do. And of course, we are very happy to have you make a presentation. It's dear to his heart. Thank you, David. Yeah. Can we unmute him? Just a second.
Thank you, Guruji. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we do. We do, David. Thank you.
I actually have a presentation, but I don't think it's necessary for me to talk because we're going to go through this quite quickly as I can't stay too long. First of all, I'll say my name is David Hunt. I actually teach property valuation and real estate management at university, and I've been asked today to just quickly talk a little bit about some of my research as it aligns with your topic today. The reason for my research came from a visit to the ashram last year, and while I was there I noticed that Trinidad and Tobago was introducing a new property taxation system, and that caused me to research how property taxation, how practices in taxation can help us live more sustainability. Property taxes throughout the world are seen as local taxes. The money that is raised is generally spent on local infrastructure. It depends on how each nation is organised, but typically this is the case. And you might be wondering what tax has to do with anything here, but it's been proven that there is a strong link between good tax governance and sustainability. And sustainability is expensive. The tax is needed to improve how we work and live our lives in a sustainable manner. But before I look at Vrindavan, I had to consider the whole country of Trinidad and Tobago, why it's a little bit different. And I'll start by saying the coastal nature of Trinidad and Tobago and the fact that it's the country is very petrochemical reliant means that the island, the nation, is exposed to higher climate change risks. And most of the economy is located around coastal areas rather than inland. And on the coast, there's good infrastructure, but inland, there's very poor infrastructure in many places. And the infrastructure can be rather unresilient. So when there is some climate or bad weather event, then roads near the coast can be cut off and there's nothing else to replace. And one other thing about my research I think is relevant is an economic issue, that of land abandonment. Across the Caribbean, many islands have seen young people leave inland farms to pursue jobs elsewhere, often in tourism and hotels. In Trinidad and Tobago, it might be more likely in gas and oil industry and financial services. So my research looked at how the new tax might work with the country, and using the some of the good examples of Vrindavan, how that would fit in with creating a sustainable future. Looking at Vrindavan, it's a former cocoa plantation. In the past, maybe citrus and tobacco as well, been abandoned for years. Plans are now for sustainably run permaculture farm based on organic farming principles. I believe there's 3 pillars. There's the eco-farming with permaculture and biodynamic agriculture, ecotourism, which takes account of respect for biodiversity, and is intended, I believe I think the quote is intended to reduce the carbon footprint of activity there, and also building an eco-community through conscious innovation and education. And that education is important. I'll come to that as well. But in general, around the area, there's a lack of infrastructure. And that's been a problem, a lack of infrastructure in the immediate area of Vrindavan. In fact, there was not even taxation or money available from the local authorities to build, although I understand they did lend some plant and machinery, and a new road has been built. And that road, in fact, is benefiting several other farms in the area. But so we're reducing that inaccessibility to land, which I think I mentioned at the start, and that we're breaking down a cycle, an economic cycle, by delivering new infrastructure. Now, it sounds somewhat counterintuitive, I think, to sustainable development, but the fact that infrastructure into these areas will improve viability of land in the centre, and maybe bring back some of the economy. The less abandoned land means there's less dependency on food. When I was in Trinidad and Tobago at the Blue Star Ashram, I found out that a lot of the food, a high amount of food, was actually imported into Trinidad and Tobago from other countries. And more food imports mean more food miles. So therefore, food that is grown locally, such as at Vrindavan, then there'll be savings in transport, fuel, and a lower carbon footprint. The economy could also move away from oil and gas. Ecotourism as well, such as in the Vrindavan example, would provide jobs, contribute to the national budget. And I mean, I think as for the tax itself, Vrindavan is, I believe it will be tax exempt as either religious property or as an NGO whose goal is eco-farming, ecotourism, etc. But it will give back in terms of capacity building, including teaching permaculture skills that will benefit the economic situation of the whole region. I think what I mean to say, as well, the success of the actual tax remains to be seen. The Blue Star initiative here has already started to provide the infrastructure itself through building roads that helps the surrounding estates, and breaks that cycle that I mentioned, building a greener economy, encouraging unused, abandoned land back into production. Really, you could tackle, I think it was 3 national, I'm coming to the end now, so I'll sum it up. I'd say this is part of a longer 20-minute presentation I gave in Africa in May, actually in Ghana. So I'm trying to just go through the bits that I'm remembering, and I've rather rushed through this. But and I've had to miss out a lot. I think the message is clear. Vrindavan aligns with several United Nations sustainability goals, and the 3 pillars of Vrindavan have the opportunity to influence the wider country through tackling some of the major national problems, that of environmental sustainability, food security, and the lack of economic diversification. And although I'm summarising here, I should have maybe said that oil and gas are not the future of this planet. And by reducing the economic dependency on these industries and moving into more sustainable industries, it will be better both for the country from an economic point of view, and for the country as for the world as a generally greener, more sustainable point of view. And that's all I had to say, so
Yeah,
thank you.
no, that's beautiful, David, because that's the track that we are on. And so you're seeing exactly what we're doing, and it gives us hope
Yes.
and to know that we're on the right track. So we're building the infrastructure in Vrindavan, but it's a joy because I love bringing resources together, bringing people together, waking up the community to see the treasures they have in our culture and in nature. So that has been really beautiful for us. And that's what I call
Thank you.
spirituality, right? Spirituality coming alive. But it's good to see your face. It's lovely to hear your presentation. And
I'm sorry I can't stay, but also I think my wife needs to log in you on this account. So I will
okay.
log out now.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
David.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Thank you. Okay, everybody. So coming into the afternoon session, now you would have had the meditation that we did at noon. So that could be part of your conversation as well. How did it improve your awareness? How did it make you more aware of your body as part of the environment? And how did you align your chakras to it? How was your spiritual experience in that human experience? And how is that related to environmental awareness? How can that increase your awareness of nature around you? And just to say that the Manas chakra is not only works with the senses, with the hearing, the touching, the seeing, the tasting, the smelling, not only working with the senses and the elements, but the Manas chakra has the power to visualize. So whenever you increase this Manas consciousness and energy, you'll find yourself being able to visualize things like the templates I asked you to make, to visualize things more. And the other things are, we spoke a little bit about nature's intelligence. When you come more into a silent mind and an open mind together with Manas, because Manas connects you to the outside, when you come there, you can intuit things from nature. You can intercept communication from nature. You can communicate with nature more. So if you bring the Manas into a beautiful place of visualization, of greater sense awareness, sensory awareness, and you breathe into that Manas chakra like I taught you today, and you root yourself at the earth chakra, and use that as a way of spinal recharging. You know, there's a way that we learn in physics to magnetize a piece of unmagnetized material, like a piece of iron. If you take a permanent magnet and you start stroking it, there's a stroking method. You can begin to magnetize that piece. And also you can magnetize by just putting the iron next to it. And then the molecules in the piece of iron will align itself just like the magnet. So if you were to just do that little orbit with the Manas and the root and with the prana of the breath, you will find yourself developing much more of a presence. You will find yourself developing more strengths of all the sense organs and the sensory system. And it can be a beautiful way of energizing yourself before you go into nature, before you begin to do things for the day. So your smelling is sharp, your tasting is sharp, your seeing is sharp, and your hearing and your touching. And that can be magnificent because we can't have this conversation without really developing the environmental awareness. And it begins with us. So if you can talk about that as the first thing and begin to share experiences around that, because a lot of us neglect, and I see it all the time when I check people's energies. I see it all the time how they neglect particular chakras and they are out of balance. And I have to bring them back. Okay, come back to the root, otherwise you're going to lose your body. Or I may have to tell You're charging, you're putting too much prana in the nervous system. You're going to burn the nervous system out. You're going to have burnout. So come back, ground well, so that excess prana can go down to the root. And we ground houses for electricity. In case you have some stray currents, they will go straight to the earth. And so how we have that grounding system in us too, that we can ground to the earth. And then, do you know the dangers of we work a lot with rubber sole continuously, and that insulates us from the Earth's field. So, you know how beautiful it is just to walk bare feet on the earth. I don't know how many of you do that, but walking bare feet in your houses and on the earth, on your lawns, it's recharging. Just spend a half an hour with bare feet on the earth. It makes a big difference. Your feet were made for walking on the earth, bare feet. But we decided to put shoes on. Shoes are important, but don't continuously live in them. Even when you're inside your house, you have all these rubber things you're wearing. No, don't do that. Learn to be more in touch with nature. And then learn to use your smell. If you really work the chakras well, when I walk up these steps, I can smell all what the neighbors are cooking, even in the night time, because I keep my system charged, or hear things from afar. It's beautiful when you sharpen the senses. So how can you do that? And how can you enjoy the lower chakras? So, for example, when you go in your shower, do you have a relationship with water when you go in the shower? Do you really feel a relationship with the water as you wash your skin? Or is it that you're just trying to shower quickly, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're out? No. The soaking in the tub experience, or you really building a relationship with water, because about 70% of your body is water. And you know Dr. Emoto's work about charging up the water in your body. So you can hold more prana in your body by charging up the body system through your emotions and your thoughts. So really appreciating nature in the body first will give you appreciation of nature on the outside. Every day that I look out and I can see the colorful universe, I feel such gratitude for having the eyes to see that and appreciate it. Because I appreciate colors and how nature blends colors and the variety of flowers that we can have in nature. And every time I do a balcony talk, for example, you hear the birds around me, and it's so beautiful to see that. And when I wake up, like this morning, when I look out of my balcony, I can see the sunrise. And it's beautiful just to see the sunrise, because now you have more infrared and you can look at the sun, or you can feel its healing property in the early morning or the late evening, when the ultraviolet rays are not strong, but infrared. It's simply beautiful. And if you just observe a little bit of how the circadian rhythm operates, you will see that throughout the day, your body is in a different relationship. You can feel your body changes, how it operates. Simply every 2 hours or so, you will actually see that the body changes, and how it relates to the sun. Because then you know when to exercise, you know when to drink more water, when to have your lunch, and if you have it in accordance with nature, as animals do in a very natural way, you will actually be more well for it. You'll have more well-being. So it's extremely important to really understand how the body relates to nature, because it's nature, and how we relate to the forces of nature. How do we relate to the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, using our sensory apparatus to feel more attuned to them. And if we can really appreciate the guardians of nature, because wherever you have trees and plants, you have guardians. They're taking care of that. You may not believe it, but when you start getting in touch with through dreams or through intuition, you begin to feel that this invisible presence around you, having a relationship with you. So these are the things that your conversation can develop. And if perchance you want to talk about how you can create this experience, whether in your cities um, through green relationship with earth and greenery, or whether you want to be more in nature, and how we can develop that way of being more in nature. Should we have a center in nature? Should we build an ashram in nature? You have all the possibilities. Or should we have a center in the city, or wherever we live? And how can we relate to nature right where we are? We can do that. Right, so I leave the conversation in the afternoon up to you. You have 45 minutes, and I'll take the rest of it. Yeah, would that be good? Right.
Okay, that sounds good. So today for facilitators, we have online, we have Madhavi, we have Vade, Radhaji will do a Dutch room for us, Dayani will do a Romanian room for us, and we have Janavi who will do English for us. So we have those 5 online, and then we will come back together then at 3:30.
And we have the whole.
So in the hall, I'm wondering if we split into 2 because of our group size today.
Yeah.
So then what we'll do is we'll split into 2, and I think maybe Sandhya can take the other group. And then we can have those who will join online as well. If you'd like to stay with us in the temple, you can do so. All right, everyone, have a wonderful conversation. We look forward to hearing the excitement that you'll bring back with you. Namaskar.
So back by 3:15, right? 45 minutes will be 3:15. Yeah, but you said 3:30, did you? No, that's an hour.
I will message in the on to our facilitators, but for those who have not joined a room yet, we will come back together at 3:15. That's in 45 minutes.
But we can message that to the breakout.
You will send a broadcast. Perfect.
Yeah.
Ajay will send a broadcast out.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. right, sounds like we're good to go. I will never adjust to having this on. Okay, so let's take a moment and let's just come into center. And let's see if we can recreate some of the practice of this morning's meditation. So we're just going to come into feeling our best self. Let's come into the here and now. And let's see if we can bring to awareness the lower center, our base. Let's breathe into that base, grounding our feet on the floor, and see how it feels. And let's take a moment and come to the heart space. And see how that changes the experience. And let's come into the brow space and take a short moment to feel what it's like to feel the whole system. And let's see if we can bring this awareness into our conversation today. So we'll open our session with one Om, exhaling completely. Inhaling deeply. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, everyone. I know many of you have traveled overnight and might not be at your best vitality, but thanks for being here anyway. All right, what's the excitement of the morning been? We have a lot of good ground to cover. How was your meditation? What do we think about that feeling of manas, the senses, and that power that Guru brought up just now around visualization? And those online are free to share as well. Let's try.
Namaskar, everybody. Oh, I'm glad to see we're not disturbing anyone anymore, so that's good. Okay, so there's many things that were eye-openers for me in the sense that the pieces of the puzzle keep coming together more and more. And one of the things that I was feeling is that when we connect with nature, we magnetize the body, but it works so much better if we intentionally sort of prepare ourselves for the interaction with nature. I mean, we are nature, so we don't really have to, but it's when we are conscious and aware of the fact that we are turning on the tap for the shower and that the water is running, and that with the intention of really experiencing that, and it makes the connection with the body so much more intense. And this goes for everything. I mean, if you're looking at the sunset, the eyes take in the light, and it immediately balances us out. So how many times do I really interact with what I'm about to experience? And we are learning to do this internally when we meditate. So being aware of the chakras, being aware of the breath and the centers. But actually, I am now more set on taking that experience from the outside more internally, so that it's the same thing as the inside meditation with this visualization, using the manas to interact with nature more preparedly, so to say. So it makes it more important for me to be more aware of that. So that's my intention.
That's great. I think that mindfulness is so beautiful and really will help us see and observe what we are feeling. I love that it comes back to the witness. How deeply are we observing our experience, and how can we deepen that by starting differently and by intentionally preparing ourselves to do that? I really appreciate that. What do we think? How did it prepare our break? Was our break any different? Was our lunch any different? Guru spoke about that before, just after our meditation. Did it feel any different after the meditation practice this morning?
Well, I intentionally engaged with a divine dal. So the taste
That's
buds
the
were
best way to engage with dal
yes,
ever.
They were especially receptive. Yes.
It's the only way to engage with dal. I will remember that next time. Thank you. This morning was really interesting. So when I was thinking about the day and how it was going to go, I always struggle with, Guru does it, and I talked about this with him a little bit, he does it in every meditation, right? Let's connect to the elements around you. And I've never felt like I do that or I know how to do that. It's just something that he says, and I'm like, one day I'll catch it. And this morning before the program, I was reading and I was reflecting on that piece around manas and indriyas, and the fact that the awareness of we power our senses, and the split difference between bindu and manas. So bindu has the ability to take us into that freedom space, that bliss, right? And we all want to stay there. But then once we touch that bliss, how do we then work with the manas to bring that into where we are now? And so that's when I realized that, wait a second, from that awareness now I can be a little bit more aware of how do I intentionally use the way that I navigate the world, and recognizing that I'm navigating the world through the manas space, and how am I intentionally using that, and recognizing that that's how I'm interacting with my world through the senses. And it just connected. I feel like I'm still discovering it, so I don't have the words to describe it, but I feel like I'm starting to connect the dots and really feel like that oneness, that the only way to touch that, tap into that source, is to recognize what's moving the manas and where that's coming from. And the fact that it's infinite source that is powering the senses, and that's my vehicle to navigating the world around me. And then if that's the case, then I'm connected to that infinite source that's holding the earth in its place. And it's the same creator that holds me and that holds the earth, and the same elements that make up my body that makes up the earth. And that was it was really exciting for me this morning as I was walking up the stairs celebrating my mini growth. But it was really, really it was really something. And then the meditation today helped me solidify it in a meditation practice. So helped me to really start to feel the power of the base and the power of that magnetized, feeling the different centers and how it opened up. I still don't know that I feel the upliftment of my senses. And so hearing what you said and hearing what Guru said earlier really helped, because for me, it's that moment of setting that intention to experience the elements differently, and then to observe whether or not I'm actually experiencing a difference in the senses itself. But it was nice to think about the cooling of the water and the heating and the fire. And when he said earlier, the warmth of the hands in the heart, and I was like, oh, but I feel that. So that must mean then that I am feeling the elements, I'm just not, or I am feeling the connection to the heart center and the touch. And so at least I can start there, because that one I felt. I don't know. No, but then he said in the meditation as well, he said, when you're focusing on what's connected with sight, he said, do you see the light brighter behind your eyes? And in that moment I did. And so I realized that there's another one, even with my eyes closed, that there was another area of experience of the connection between the senses in the meditation, the sense of sight brightening a little bit. So that was really exciting. Yeah. What else? What else was exciting about today?
Well, when I'm in the field of the Guru, it has so much energy. It's just so that I just lose the body. And I had a real hard time grounding because I felt myself dozing off. And so that was my practice, and that was my little celebration as well, going down the stairs with Brother Faiz, because I tend to fall asleep, right? So I was really trying hard and really holding on to my hands and really putting strength on my legs and feet. So, well, that was my sadhana, just keeping myself in the body. Nice. So.
And when he said in the meditation, he said, is there any area that you feel the need to focus, or when you feel the different chakras, an area that you feel stronger? Was there one for you?
My heart is the strongest when it's opened, right? But when I'm doing like really breathing and trying to keep me in the body, then I tend to lose the heart, because I'm so into the practice that I tend to forget. So.
And do you ever feel it? So if you're connected to the heart, do you ever feel that connection to air element?
Well, it's like I'm getting bigger, yeah. It's gives me more space in more myself. Space. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Nice. And anyone online, you feel free as well to put up your hand if you need to. We can see you, so feel free and we'll unmute you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
When I came about 3 years ago to the ashram, I was not familiar with the manas, the body, the senses, and how it connects with myself. So it was something new to me. So Guruji one day told me, you live too much in the head. There's too much energy in the head. So you have to get more into the body. So I started the yoga practices, the Qigong, And I used to play tennis, and I consciously then decided to do things that would get me out of the head, more into the body. So I started practicing walking bare feet in the grass and doing the breathing, the pranayama. I started planting a garden with flowers, so my hands were with the soil, and in doing that, I began to feel a sense of oneness with myself and the earth and the environment around me. And it also allowed the energy to flow now more, creating a balance within the system. And then listening to Guruji and through the practices, learning to ground myself from the head, losing the root chakra to ground myself with the feet, and again feeling the connection with Mother Earth. So that has allowed more balance in the chakras, because I feel that in all of the chakras, my heart chakra is the more dominant one. And in the meditation today, when he was taking us through the various chakras, I could feel the heart chakra more expanding and widening. And then when he took us to the root chakra, I could feel myself more grounded. So when Shreya said, well, when you go to lunch, see how you can put this into practice, I sat next to
Hridaya.
my dear friend here, Hridaya, and while we were eating and conversing, I was practicing, at least trying to practice, keeping my feet and the energy grounded, as well as in the heart because of the conversation we were having. So with the food, I was more like taking when I took a spoon of food, I was trying to consciously eat, not mechanically eat. So with every chew, I was actually feeling the taste of the food and how it was going down into the system. So that was my experience in the connection with the environment and my inner self. Yeah. Namaskar.
That's great, Brother Faiz. Like, that basically just sums up the whole lesson of today. Thank you, because it's the idea and the concept of working with your chakras. And then when you talked about first learning this and exploring the earth and what that did for you and the fact that it grounded you, that's the whole idea. It's the biofeedback that we have, the way that the earth teaches us and helps us, and the way that we can intentionally engage with the earth. That relationship is so beautiful.
What also happened as you were talking, when I'm too much in the head now, the moment I bring my attention into the present, I feel the energy level begins to drop from my head down to the other chakras. So living in the now and giving attention in the now is a very, very helpful practice to balance the energies in the chakras. And it brings so much benefit in everything that you do, because whatever you're doing in the present moment, you give of your best.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It'll be so nice when we can do, I feel like I marvel at how Guru's able to do all of this in the moment, like how he's able to, I mean, that's the power of the Guru. But it's really fascinating, because imagine how much work it takes for us to consciously do this and live in this awareness. But that's amazing. I look forward to the time when the practice becomes so much so that we live in awareness of this. Thank you. Any hands up online yet? No, not yet. Feel free any moment. think another thing that we can share too is what excites us about the future when we think about what we've heard today. So taking the whole conversation as a whole, including the inner subtle learning and experience, as well as thinking about what this means for the future of the way that we want to live. What does this mean?
I think that when we are more engaged intentionally ourselves, and it starts from within, I think, for each and every one of us, and we bring the manas into action, not just upward and inward, but mostly, in connection with nature, and we start revitalizing the body through nature, and we start energizing like the battery that the body actually is. And we use the slow breath and the microcosmic orbit. I think that we are becoming examples that is magnetizing in itself. So hopefully people will recognize the energy that we bring, that we are, all of us, and it will attract, like Guruji said, the iron that you rub will attract the other piece of the atoms. And just like, I don't know if you have ever seen that, it's a little video with the balls that are hung on a little thing, and it will just move in the exact same way. Also, when you have these things that are the metronomes, if you have a couple of them and you put them on different speeds, they will eventually all do the exact same movement, exact same speed. So I'm confident that whenever we are very intentional about what relationship with nature we can have, by being more intentional, by energizing the body, by standing bare feet on the grass, by eating, consciously, by taking our showers or washing our hands, feeling the warmth, seeing the light, it requires of us to be more in the now.
That's what Brother Faiz had mentioned.
Exactly.
As well. Yep.
So I think being in this body with the entire world around us and the worries that we have, we usually tend to be either in the future or in the past and not in the now. And then we won't be as intentional as we can be. So it's a practice. And there's no good or bad or right or wrong in this. It's just practicing and getting the moment more towards the now, and not be discontented with yourself when you catch yourself being somewhere else. But just bringing it back, just like in the meditation, just thoughts can distract, but, you just take it back and breathe and be here. Actually, I brought the book written by Ram Dass, Be Here Now. It's on my nightstand, so that's probably a good book to read.
I hope you get through some of it.
Yes.
So this morning I unfortunately couldn't join for all of the talk, but I joined just as he was talking about sacred geometry. And so recently I was listening to a talk on sacred geometry, and I know Guruji always talks about the power of where Vrindavan is, and the location, and the idea of the earth already orchestrated, set up, with the power of that sacred geometry in certain places, so that we can create buildings and structures using sacred geometry, that when you come together as a collective force, you can intensify activate, intensify our own intention. So even if, your intention is whatever it is on your spiritual path, and my intention is whatever it is on my spiritual path, or whatever that is, but just that space and the energy of that space, the way it's architectured, it can magnify so much for us and help us to manifest, whatever it is that we are wishing for or intending for. So just being more observant or more cognizant of that type of thing, or there are lots of different sacred geometries out on the internet. You can get the structure and create that on your own. But when I came into the hall during meditation, it was already going on, and I was one of those people that traveled overnight, so it's been a bit exhausting. And I sat on the floor, actually in the back, and I immediately connected to Mother Earth because I was just tired a little bit. And of course, coming in here, you just want to experience the sweetness of it. And then I connected to the cosmic energy of the universe as well. So, just being sandwiched between heaven and earth and feeling all that beautiful energy. And then bringing Mother Kundalini into it to really take me where I needed to be, so I can get out of my way, because sometimes you're very structured in what you want to experience or where you want to go. And he did say, see where the energy takes you, or where do you feel. But in that moment was just take me wherever you want me to go, or provide whatever sustenance that I need. And so I just felt like everything became expansive. So when you're thinking about the heart or the throat, just everything became expansive. But knowing that I was still protected by both and held by both heaven and earth, it was just a beautiful space. It was very short for me because I came into meditation late, so I wish it could have just gone on and on. But I echo all of the intentionality, mindfulness, present moment, but just thinking of all these other things that's also out there that sometimes we don't make available to us. So that was important. So now I'm going to go back to that talk on sacred geometry.
Oh, wait, I have a question for you. Because you engage in healing, right? I have been with you in Reiki, and it's literal magic. And so I'm curious about how it is that, because you're channeling energies now, and you're channeling from the divine in that space, and so how you use this idea of intentionally bringing forth energy through your own senses, because it's touch healing, and how does all that work in your space, if I might ask that? It's kind of a personal question, but.
No, absolutely. So one of the feedback that he'll also give, as he did to Brother Faiz earlier, is that I generate a lot, right? And so I go straight to crown. I try to be as mindful as possible to stay lower, but it just automatically. So I have to be mindful in that space. And so for me, I have to learn and be more cognizant of bringing it lower and maintaining that sort of like the magnetic field, right? The north and south pole, if you will. So I have to force myself there, because once I open up, it just flows. So then I need to be more mindful of the space and the different chakras and bringing it back to body. Because I enjoy the energy, so I can get lost in it.
And I think it's really fascinating too that, like, you're coming from New York City. It is like the literal busiest city in the entire world, and it's so urban. But you find space to be able to connect with earth, with heaven and earth, in your healing. And how is it that you were able to do that, given that you live in the busyness of a city?
Yeah. So I don't have as many opportunities to go out and walk in nature as I'd like. But I think it's that idea of mindfulness again, and using that space and recognizing that earth is there even if I'm in my house.
It's so beautiful.
Right? So I could be inside my house, and often when I'm doing Reiki if I'm participating in a session and I think of connecting heaven and earth, it's literally in my mind, and just being that instrument and allowing the energies to work in and through me, and it is just absolutely powerful to do that. But again, it's, I know you're talking about intentionality a lot, but just that mindfulness of knowing that those forces are there. And we get so caught up and distracted by the things that we need to do. But once you just connect and open yourself to it, because of the power and the magical field that Guruji creates, it's there. It's like right at your fingertips. And I have to remember that. And there are times when, like there's an alarm that I had set a long time ago, about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and it's kind of like my mental mind, alarm,
Nice.
and it will go off, and I left it. So if I get distracted, this beautiful sound will come on, and
You
it
have a
automatically takes me
reminder.
back to that space. So it's just using all these different techniques that's out there when we get busy
Yeah.
to remember.
That's great. That's a great strategy as well for setting a little reminder for the day of like, oh, come back. That's
So
great.
I learned that in a course I took. It was manifestation alarms, but
Mhm.
so I just left them on. So.
We're getting a little closer. Okay, come. Back. Good.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
So much like Antiana Priya, I am in that same New York City
Mhm.
area, and walking in today after the same travel, I was nervous. I was like, will I be able to connect? And mid-meditation, can I really get to where I want to be? So I sat
Just put
down.
the mic
and
up a little.
Oh, sorry. I sat down, and I heard him talking about everything and how do I connect to my environment. And I was like, I don't think I do that. And then as I'm, just in my space, trying to clear my mind, as he's speaking, I take walks in Central Park during my lunch break just to get out of the office. But then I realized that image popped into my head. And I was like, oh, so this is something that I'm doing without the intention, that if I do put the intention behind it to walk and become one with nature, because it is the park, but for me it's just a break. And I'm not using that right intention. And then I stay in my heart because it feels nice. And then I pushed it down a little bit, and then I felt my feet start tingling a little. And I could feel it through energizing my own roots. And then I was like, when I go back, now I know. It's not just a break, it's becoming one with nature and revitalizing my body, and then walking with intention and walking with purpose. And again, that's how we can magnetize and pull people into what we do and walk with purpose, and then people also walk with purpose. And when you put that behind you, every action you make is more important. And with all the crime in our city, you kind of realize you can't, once people walk with purpose, they won't do those things,
Yeah.
or you hope they won't. So being that magnet just in a walk, and staying in the heart and hoping that people just feed off of that and, walking with that.
I love the idea of fearlessness that this brings. Like, there's a different kind of power that you feel where you're that's so great, because one of the thoughts I thought of, like, oh, you're going to walk in the park in Central Park, like, don't get mugged.
Right.
But the idea of fearlessness when you are walking with this intention that comes with it.
Yeah. So it's definitely something great to go back with of, you have this thing in your head of minding your own business anyway, but it's just, I'm going to walk with my purpose. It's not minding my business, it's walking with my purpose.
With
and
my purpose.
Hoping that people sense that purpose and want to find a way to make that a similar purpose in their own lives.
We talked about that in a couple of days ago when we talked about being co-creating spaces of light, and the idea of being a light right where we are and in whatever we're doing. And I feel like this connects so nicely, this whole conversation connects so nicely with that idea as well, that once we get into this space and we start doing this with intention, that we become that light, which is so nice.
I want to say something about Vrindavan. The speed now it takes in developing, because when I went years ago, when I was going with Ramdas and we were just clearing the road, cutting the grass, and I thought, my God, how long this will take, right? Before we actually see a building. But now if you see the speed, how the roads are coming, and like Guru said, things are happening by time. Maybe that was it takes. If you see now, the gentleman was speaking from UK and all the ideas and how things are popping up. I think, wow, it's the vision what Guru have, and we human beings, we don't have the patience. We want things and we want it very quickly. But Guru had just vision long time ago, and I saw also in his office there how it will look like, and I think, and if you see it now, you think, my God, this will take so long. So I'm so proud that how the speed, how it is, what is taken now in growing.
And what do you think is causing that speed now? The speed, the fact that it's taking off now and it's
Yeah.
taken so long. What do you think is causing that? Why is that?
I think also about the people, Guruji's, yeah, and also I think Guru also, it's all about the noise in the money as well, right? So everything takes, it takes money.
It's the karmic play, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's the
it's the
karmic
karma.
constraints that come in. And so even when the gentleman from the UK was talking about the fact that where Trinidad is as a country right now, the restraints that are happening, the restrictions, as well as the increase in property taxes, that's all part of the karmic constraint of the fact that it's in a country like Trinidad that has that limitation, or what the industry is, and the fact that it's in a center that might have higher climate change because it's oil and gas is the basis of the industry. And so all of those really play into the idea of the karmic constraints that we have when we're trying to build something that's so great and so wonderful. And we talked about that in a couple of days of the retreat as well. So I thought that was really interesting when he was speaking. Thanks. Namaskar, Fernanda. So nice to see you.
Namaskar. So nice to be here. I was just listening. In 2013, I can relate, because when we went in, it was like with the Jeep, and then we had to like carry everything and walk through literally it felt like a jungle, okay, with boots and everything, and just to kind of clear. That was the last experience I had at the time. And you're talking about why now? And I don't think it's just about restraints. I'm looking at it from the world is ready, and we have to have this now. I heard Guru talking about it too. It's almost like a sense of urgency. Everything in the world is accelerating so fast. We talk about being light, first of all, here, because we have to be the instruments and the vessels of light in order to be it in the world and bring it to others. But it's just everything's accelerating so fast right now, so that there are a lot of dark forces. I think we can all see that and feel that, and they're accelerating. So the world is ready. It's like, it's now. It's not about waiting any longer. And so somehow that's, I believe, is part of the karmic play too. Because, the whole thing about, I see in my life sometimes, I don't have patience. I go, how come this isn't happening? Well, because I'm getting more and more. He's referred to the karmic play so much in the last few days, and I think, wow, one thing is setting a powerful intention, and one thing is thinking, I'm ready. But really? Okay, there's so many other forces at play here. So it's like, we need to be ready. The world needs to be ready. Like, it's all one anyways. There's no separation. Here we go again. We're all in the field. So when there's a readiness, I think, inside, internally, and externally, and it's all coming together. And it's so exciting. It's like, I just find it really exciting.
But thank you so much for sharing that excitement and for reminding us that it's all in one field. I think that's huge. And then reminding us that Guru said, we have to do this now. This has to happen now. I love that urgency and that reminder. Thanks for sharing. So we have, go ahead. Okay, hang on a second. Just let them
I think
catch
even
up.
Guru's saying that, and even when you just repeated it, this has to happen now. I think there's just a wave of energy that just brings. And I think it's everybody that's been working on this space for all this time, and the intentionality, and it's kind of like creating a miracle matrix at the same time, and all the forces come together to start making it happen. All the right people, the right resources, the right knowledge, the right connections, to all bring it together. So I think even that energy that he brings to push things forward, the same way that he would create Shaktipath within us, it's like creating that Shaktipath throughout, right? It's like everything is awakening, and everything is moving, and everything is constantly moving. We just, even within ourselves, right? When you think about we are made up of 70% water, whatever. Everything is moving. Everything around us is moving. We see things and we see ourselves as being, solid, but everything is a wave of movement. And I think when we come collectively throughout, whether it's the Blue Star family and others, that's just creating that wave of light in the world, this is what you're going to get. So if you keep that intention strong, then you're just going to see buildings.
Namaskar. Yes, it has to happen now. It is the right moment. The condition of the world is changing, and we are the exponents of being ready to support and to participate, to see the miracle with our own eyes. And that's wonderful.
That's beautiful.
It is. And I guess we are ready too, because we need that foundation on which we all have to shine the light and support that. And to tell you the truth, my generation was brought up different. In the 50s, the 60s, I remember my grandma had a, flowers, and he has hens and chickens and a big dog at the back, and I was going to wear the flowers. I want to say jardin. How you say in English? Garden. Oh, okay. So it was different, and water coming. And then, of course, the way I live in Romania, into the mountain area, and the water I used to drink was it was spring water that was poured into our house. And then I remember when I went to my aunt to the capital to Bucharest, and I drink the water, I didn't know why it tastes so, and why not everybody has that kind of water, So the well water, it's so important that we are mostly water in the body. So all those things were gone. They built buildings and hotels and whatever. The world changed, and we are right here when Guru, what is doing for us, for humanity, for protection. And we all have to be in gratitude and humble at his feet for what we're doing, and help as much as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Namaskar.
We have got the 5-minute warning mark, so I'm just going to prioritize anyone who hasn't had a chance to share yet, if you would like to. The last 5 minutes is ours, and that goes for online as well. If anybody online would like to share, if you haven't had a chance to yet, feel free. I might not grow a garden, because that's not really my thing, but maybe I'll try a house plant and see where we go from there. I'll check back in with you in like 3 months and then let you know how it goes. Yes.
Talking about house plants, Shira, it brings to mind an experience that one of my friends had. He planted some flowers in his veranda, and every day he used to talk to the plants. He used to radiate love, and he used to play music. And he told this particular plant, a flowering plant, that I want you to flower on a particular day. And every day he would build this relationship with the plant. And every day he would make the request to the plant. And after a while, with the conversation, the music, and radiating love, the plant actually flowered on the exact day that he told it to.
Wow.
So you see the interconnectedness of nature and ourselves, and the oneness, and then the effect that we have on nature and nature has on us. That if we radiate love and light to the universe, whether it's dogs or animals or plants, it has an effect in the way the plants grow, the crops grow. So again, creating a better environment, a more sattvic environment for all of us. And recently somebody asked me, Brother Faiz, how can there be a golden age? How can there be peace when you look around? There's so much of war, so much of economic poverty. And he gave a most beautiful answer. He said, when a mother is having a child, look at the blood, sweat, and tears in bringing the child into the world. Shreya, you would experience this. But then when the baby comes, what happens? All of that disappears, and there's just ecstasy and joy filling your entire being. So this is what is happening, as Guru says, the karmic play is taking place. But in the end, I think it will be like that bouncing baby boy, full of joy, bringing so much of bliss and happiness to the world. Namaskar.
Namaskar, thank you. All right. Well, I think that brings us into the end. If nobody else has anything else, our groups are going to close soon. So thank you all so much, especially you guys who traveled overnight and still contributed so beautifully to our conversation. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We will see you back in the temple momentarily.
Namaskar, everyone, and welcome back. Hope that you had an interesting conversation, if not exciting. And I'm eager to hear how did it go. And if you have any questions for me, yeah. Yes, Shreya, anything how did the conversation go in the whole?
The conversation went really well. There were no outstanding questions, but we talked a lot about the beauty of the intentionality came up a lot in our group when reflecting on when we do this with intention, how it changes our experience. So can we prepare ourselves for how we're going to engage with nature by virtue of the practices that you gave us? And then when we engage with the world outside of us, how different our experience becomes, because we're far more aware of the way that we're eating. We're far more aware of the way that we're watching the sunset, and the way that our own preparation helps us to develop a different relationship with the senses elements and the world outside of us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Adi Dev, how did your group go?
Namaskar, everyone.
Namaskar.
It went fantastic. We spoke a lot of, a huge focus was placed on nature and communicating and feeling the communication from nature, whether it's plants intelligently communicating and listening to what plant life would have to say, or animal life. An interesting question that came up that perhaps you can speak to is in the awareness of harmonious coexistence with nature, how do we take this responsibility in situations where we might have to cut down a tree or move a beehive, say, or some way of intervening with the nature? What are ways that we can conceive of this, that we are making sure we're being good caretakers, but at the same time not going overboard with removal?
Yeah, I'll give you a story that actually happened here. For years I've been growing a peepal tree when we had the dome here. And it became into a mature peepal tree with a lingam under it. And in the changing of the space, I had to take down this peepal tree. So knowing that a peepal plant is sacred, this was a challenge for me. So I went to the tree, I put my hands on the tree, I held the tree, and I opened myself to communicate with the tree. And I said, I have to take you down. But I'm going to plant a little tree next to where the Shiva is now. I'm going to plant a little tree there, and I want your spirit to be infused in this tree. I can't help, but the temple has to grow, and I have to take you down. And I held that tree until I can feel my how shall I say, bond with it. I could actually feel it energetically. And I went down to the little tree and I prayed that the spirit of the peepal tree will come into this little one. And I stayed with the little tree until it began to feel like the big tree. And when that happened, I says, good, so you are here now. I want you to grow in this tree. And then I came back when we were taking down the other peepal tree. I held the tree whilst they were cutting, just to show that I care about the plant, the tree, and so we repeated mantra, and I held the tree until we were able to take it down. And when we took it down completely, and the place felt really beautiful and ready for what I was going to do. So that is a way of communicating with the plant kingdom. When you have to do something, if you have to move a beehive, for example, you have to build a relationship with the bees, because some of the people in India and other parts of the world can put their naked hand into the beehive because they built a relationship with the bees. And so they could share in the honey without the bees stinging them. And recently when we had to do the road in Vrindavan, because we have to push down a number of major trees. So when I went eventually to visit, oh my God, I felt the pain that all these trees would have had to go through. And I sat there communicating with the spirits of Vrindavan, saying, I'm sorry for this, but this road has to happen. And then we went back, and that's where I put a lingam, and they did a prayer for the forest, and to just communicate with the angels of the forest, the guardians of the forest. We call them devas, to communicate with them and say that this has to be done, but it's only for the road, for the public road that is there, and to facilitate our bringing electricity in there. So but talking to the plants, talking to the area, talking to the angels, that becomes very important to me. So communicating with plants. So whenever I have to take a tree down or trim a tree, I hold the tree in that kind of energy. Acknowledging its usefulness to me, its bond, that it has life, even when I have to do things like that. Yeah, so that's what I do when I operate in nature. Yeah. I lost your voice though. So that's what I'm hoping to build in Vrindavan. That kind of intuitive relationship with the forest.
That's beautiful, Guru, because what I'm feeling from you is the ocean of compassion, that how you hold these trees is how we hold the hand of a loved one when they're transitioning.
Yes.
And it's life is life. And by holding it and transitioning is part of the life process. But the plants and animals and nature deserve as much our compassion as our loved ones. They're our loved ones too.
Yeah.
So doing it with that awareness is really beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to tell you as you brought the idea of transition, our beloved Bhaktan, who was very much into supporting the Vrindavan project, he's transitioning now. And when I got up this morning from my bed, I spent about a half an hour with him, telling him how to transition. And I spent the time now, so he's in the phase of transitioning. But it was all altogether unexpected. But he's such a soldier, so brave. He held on to the Guru's word, and as I took him into that space and said, "This is the space you need to be in," and you could see, like a good disciple, he really got into this space, and so it's admirable. So anytime we can hear that he has left the earth plane, but he will leave as a yogi. He will leave as a Mahayogi. So those of you who know Bhaktan, please hold him in your prayer as we speak about Vrindavan today. But such an admirable disciple, listening to the Guru even at this moment. And I'm constantly in contact with them. If you see me in my cell phone here, in the program itself, because I'm communicating with them. Yeah, so I just want all of you to remember him in your hearts and minds, because it seems that the transition may be today. Hmm? Pardon me? Yeah. Yeah. I feel this moment is appropriate to share that. Because he's been a friend of us all. So I know he will come back again for sure. Because he has the same spirit as I do, to help humanity and to serve the masters. Yeah, so let's continue, everyone. Thank you, Aditi, for bringing that up. Yeah, Suriti?
Namaskar, Guruji. I was in Akshay's group as well. I thought you were going to have me facilitate, so it was such a joy to be able to choose a group and join in. That was fun. So I was with Ved and Akshay, and one of the things in speaking of Bhaktan, and I'm trying not to cry, it made me think too that both in life and in death, there's so much in nature that goes on. Like a tree becomes a snag, and then the snag is a home for like everything from the tiniest to the largest, and that everything, even in transition, we have a new purpose, and it's a powerful one.
Yeah, absolutely. But renewal is part of the cycles and renewal. So there's no death, as it were.
One of the things that came up, I have a neighbor who had bought a property with a giant pine tree. It was one of the loves of their land, and it began to die. So they had wondered what they could do, and I'm like, well, check with your arborist and see how high can you top it without it being a danger to the house or the yard. And now it has pileated woodpeckers nesting in it, the giant woodpeckers, you have delineated there. It's got raccoons nest. So even in managing a dead tree, we have more life visiting that particular property, and they're having joy in that. Nice to see.
Yeah, thank you, Sudhiti. Yeah, I just want to say that we may want the entire world to come into this consciousness that we speak about. But you can appreciate the difficulty in a global level that the world is not going to change in a day. Not even our communities. Not even around the spaces we have because of the darkness of the yuga. Not everybody's consciousness is going to be a high consciousness. So how do you work in lower consciousness when you're operating in a higher consciousness and you can see more and you want to help, but how do you operate in an environment where you want to help, but you can only do so much? So how do you live with the darkness and live comfortably or unaffected by the darkness, yet do your best in terms of uplifting the environment? How do you do that? And it can be simply with the relationships in your home, for example, even with siblings. You cannot change your siblings to be just as you would want them to be. How do you operate in that and not yet become depressed when you can't help the people who are closest to you? How do you operate there? How do you operate there? It's like with climate change as well. How do we tell people that it is all this industrial world and all of these things that are affecting the climate, but that's what they also use for their livelihood? So how do we balance that? How do we take all the processed food from off the shelves and just begin to put the organics? How do we do that? Is everybody going to be happy? How do you stop giving children candies and start allowing them to eat fruits? How do we do that? Is everybody going to be happy and jump for it? How do we do that? Any response to that? I see. Yeah, how do we do that? Jyoti?
Namaskar, Guruji. What came to me is what I learned, that in the interaction with people who are not on the same level as me, well, it is of course challenging, but now I start to see that I have been there as well some time ago. And it makes a huge difference in my experience with them. There comes compassion, there is room for letting happen what has to happen and remain detached from it because they are where they are and I am where I am, and I want to stay where I am and hold the strength in myself. And the only thing I can do is give them a little smile if the situation is appropriate for that, or energetically let them feel there is some kind of connection. But yeah, after that, I just move away. So when you asked how do we deal with that in the interactions with people, this is what I do
Right. So,
currently.
yeah, thank you. So it shows compassion. Compassion arises because you have been there. Yeah.
Yes, I've been there.
Right, good.
I'm no hair better.
Good, I love that. And I know you're coming from the actual experience, because I remember when you used to complain about everybody, and now you don't complain anymore. In fact, your heart has become so compassionate. It's really indescribable. So thank you, Judy. And yeah, what else do we do? That's beautiful. Shreya?
Thank you. I work in the social justice world at home, and it becomes challenging because you see so much darkness around in the workplace, in the world. You see conflict that you're navigating all the time, and there are moments where it's really challenging to not get depressed. And that's where I remember your teachings all the time, that it's a play, and I have to be centered in the fact that it's a karmic play around me, and that we're in a time where everyone's operating from their own level of consciousness. And the only thing that I can do is operate from my best self and bring that forward in the moment. And then moments when it is overwhelming, that's when I have to retreat. And that's when I find myself here. That's when I find myself in your presence a lot more, when home becomes overwhelming, or because raising two little ones and one very energetic one has been a big challenge. And it's been my biggest karmic play at the moment, my biggest challenge. And coming here has been the biggest blessing for me, because it's given me you, and it's given me being able to rest in an energy far greater than my limited self.
So do you see the world as a testing ground then, to really get you to strengthen the teachings and the practice of it?
But it requires me to constantly remind myself to be my best. I have to. I have to.
Yeah. Anything else, Rede?
I would hold them in the light and try to create a template in my mind which has a beautiful outcome.
Yeah.
I tried it with my brother as well, and it's
yeah,
really
that's admirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you pray for them and you visualize a positive outcome.
Right.
Anything else? Yeah, thank you. Trey?
Namaskar. Guruji, what I would do, I do what I learned from you. I would be an example.
Yeah.
To lighten the space and
Yeah.
hope and pray.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. Now the Bhagavad Gita says that do not unsettle the mind of the ignorant. It says whatever a great person do, the generality of human beings would follow. So even though people of low understanding may not be able to be as you are, but if you be the example constantly be the example, and with compassion, as Jyoti said, they will begin to do as you do. They'll begin to learn how to do it. So you teach by your example, by how you are. What you want people to be, you be it. And you stay strong in it, no matter what the opposition is. And that's what I do. I constantly stay as the example. No matter what anybody does, what anybody say, I walk in the light. I'm not going to disempower anybody. Some people will say, but how are you not saying anything? How are you not putting them in place? I say, no, I know they will not understand if I do that. They would become angry. They will think that I am not understanding them. So what I do, I just be the example. Politely says, okay, you have your own way. I give you blessings. but I'm going to constantly be the example. And with Brasso, I'm saying all of this to say that Brasso is held in a karmic play. For years I've been passionate about how are we going to deal with Brasso, but I focus on here. But my passion for Brasso, my love for Brasso never stopped. And I just allow the universe to take its own timeline. And somehow, recently, a whole lot of changes started to happen. The passion to get involved in the road, in the community, and to begin to really work hard to create the road, raising funds, and using the resources around me. And then the road appeared. The road appeared. And then the original road that I did, even building a bridge, it's not working out for what the purpose that I wanted the road for. So I had to go and look for a shorter route towards the Vrindavan, which I didn't want to go to originally because there are many water crossings. But this time I said, let me go walk this path, even though there are many water crossings from the hills. And when I went, I said, wow, this is a possibility. Because after building a bridge, you realize that this one is easier. That if I can put cylinders right through where the water crossings are, make the drainage properly. And I said, why didn't I think of this? We built a whole bridge there, spent so much money, and now I could have spent less money and get it quicker, because this one is just about, I think, a little more than half of a mile. So finally, I began to love this, and so now I have two roads into Vrindavan. And so it's exciting, and the people to do this appeared. The people to do this appeared. The funds came, and then so now I'm in the excitement of putting up the buildings. So shortly after my birthday, I'm going to be in Vrindavan, and within months, you're going to see buildings start coming up there. I don't know how all the money is going to come, but it's going to come. I'm totally confident that pretty soon the buildings will appear in Vrindavan. And the project will start coming alive. Because now, pretty soon we'll be closing up the projects here, so that the machines could go to Vrindavan, and we can settle down in Vrindavan building it. So I'm totally excited about the months ahead. Yeah, but the thing is, it has to grow organically. I already know, just like how the bridge happened, just like how the roads happened, the right people will come at the right time, the project will grow, because this is not my project, it is a project of the universe. So being aligned to the universe, I know that Vrindavan will happen in the perfect way, as has all of this. I never visualized having a temple here. We had a road in between here and this temple. And I never visualized this temple. And then one day, Jagdev, our construction person, said, Gurji, why don't you expand the building? And I thought, because we had a beautiful dome here, and we had a road, and we had a play field. And I never thought of doing this. And then I said, but the road. He said, don't worry about the road. And I said, yeah, because I do not really need that road. We could use the main road across there. And then when we started with this temple, he says, don't you want a space below? And I said, oh my God, I didn't think of that. So now we have some offices below. And then when I was thinking, I said, but what about this dome? We're going to have to take this dome down. He says, Guruji, don't worry, the octagon, we'll roll the octagon and take the octagon in the end. So that's the same octagon that was at the dome. We just put wheels for it, and we just rolled it into that position. So organically it happened. I didn't do it. It all happened. And Krishna Priya, she's the architect for this building. She came with her skills, and we worked together and co-created the beauty of the building. So everything happened, so all the right people came, and all the magic happened. I don't do it. I don't do it. I just bring people together, and it happens. So, was it a magic? No. It is a fulfillment of a universal plan. I didn't start the blue star. The universe started the blue star. I didn't grow the blue star to what it will be. I told you the progression of the blue star from being in where my garage space is. Oh no, my living room, then to the garage space, then to the temple across, where you can see the sea, and then here. Did I build that building across there? Universe. Because we had a copy in there. The universe. For those of you who follow the story of the blue star, it's an incredible and beautiful story if you've been coming for many years. Totally amazing. And how we got that land for Vrindavan? Magical. Magical. The funds came in just at the right time. So I am just fulfilling the wish of the universe. I already know what Vrindavan is going to look like in the future. I am just looking at the magic happens. I know I'll create a beautiful dome in Vrindavan, so it will be a different kind of building. I know the gardens, I'll create beautiful gardens. I'll create a little pond that we'll make into that lake-like thing. And of course, I want plants and animals. I want goats there. I want cows. All the animals will be there. And to live in harmony with them. Making the compost, growing the vegetables, eating from the tree itself, and hugging the trees, playing with the goats, getting all the milk we need. Vrindavan will become a home to all those who love nature and love spirituality in nature. I have a couple other wishes because I wish I can create an ascension place where the souls who are living the world like Bhaktan is, where we can hold them in that field of love and joy as they ascend to the other realm. And where we can create a birthing place where those females who are pregnant could come and deliver in natural ways in nature. So those are an education, for example, which we'll talk about tomorrow. How can we educate the young ones in nature? Every time I see the little ones in martial arts or into yoga or into Kung Fu, Shaolin, all forms of martial arts, so Qi exercises. And when we do it together, and when you start with a young person and let them grow up in that kind of energy field, loving nature, into sport, into music, into astrology, we have a different kind of education. Different kind of education. That's my dream. And I hope I can leave all these structures and see them running before I leave this earth plane. So those are my dreams. And so we look forward to that beautiful development of Vrindavan. Yes, you were going to say something, Shreya? Yeah. But for tomorrow, transformative education is a subject. So it takes a village to educate a child. That's the idea. So how are we going to create a future? Where does it begin? It begins with the youths. If we don't train the youths into being the best human being or soul they can be in the human experience, if we don't train them, if we don't teach them, who will? The schools can't do it because those teachers are not exemplars. Who will do it? If we don't teach them about holistic education, who will do it? Do you think because you don't have a child, that it's not important for you? I don't believe that. I believe when you interact with youths, you need to teach from your life experience. We need to gather together and teach the youths and help them because it's our future. So I have been caring for youths for a long time. We run a successful preschool until we had to change, and we have continued with youth education over the years. We supplemented the academic one, and I have great hopes for the future, but the universe is going to have to make it unfold. But I know that too will happen. So those are my dreams. How can we create a different kind of education? And so those are my wishes. And all those youths who have grown up with my influence, to see what they have become to this day is a joy for me. It pleases me. The ones who would come into the satsang halls and lie on the floor when they were babies, to see what they have become today, it's such a joy. They have stayed with the teaching, they have stayed with the values, even as they have become professionals in their own right. Makes me happy. And we have Anna Priyaji here, so tomorrow I'm sure she would share on that topic, because you held a youth development program in the center for many years. And so you've experienced that. You've become very dedicated with how you train them. Yeah. So we have a little time remaining, which I'll use for meditation, and we'll all hold back then in our consciousness as we do that. Okay? So let's come into a meditative posture. Let's clear the mental field. And open up our consciousness to each other. One mind. One consciousness. Let's breathe into that and breathe out from that. Let's open the heart to each other. With every breath we take, let's center in love. Each time you breathe in, center in the heart. You're breathing into love. And every time you breathe out, share that love with your body and the space. And to fill your body with that, breathe into the gut. Peaceful mind, loving heart, vital core. That you come fully into the present moment. Full of love, full of unity consciousness. And in this beautiful field, let us bring our friend Bhaktan in there. A noble soul, devoted to Blue Star Holland, Blue Star Trinidad and Tobago. Let's hold him in the light. He knows of the immortality of the soul. And he's slipping away from the body into the other space. Let's hold him in that space. Today is the Mahasamadhi of Baba Nityananda. We pray that he can leave the earth plane on such an auspicious day, like Baba Nityananda. May he experience a super consciousness. of the Mahayogis. Bhaktan, we love you. We thank you for being with us for so long. We thank you for the marvelous work you've done for Blue Star. You've created Blue Star Friends. We thank you for serving the Guru in the way that you did, so exemplary. We thank you for your contribution to Vrindavan. And we thank you for the gift that you are leaving with us in your daughter, Deepa. We pray for the family that they will be held in the light as he departs in the light. Join me as we chant the Trayambaka mantra, wishing him the most beautiful exit on this auspicious day. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhem Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyam Mamritat. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May we achieve strength together. May our knowledge be full of light. May we remain united beyond differences. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you everyone for another marvelous day. And we look forward to tomorrow where we speak about transformative education and how can we treat with all the younger ones and lead them into a better world through our influence and example. So transformative education is the subject of tomorrow. And all those who have been engaged in this, we want to hear their voice. And so we'll also speak about our group, our adventure over the years. And then those like Shreya and Anupriya, Chandika, Prabha, we have a number of people who have been involved in education. and we want to hear their voice, plus all of you. Okay? So thank you everyone for a marvelous day. We look forward to our next day, and so you know all the subjects that we're going to have. So looking forward to tomorrow and what it brings. Thank you everyone. Namaskar.